Today, I'm going to be talking about modded weapons in Fortnite Save the World. For those of you who've been playing Save the World and don't know what they are, this is going to be the video for you if you want to know exactly what makes a weapon modded and why they're rare. And for those of you who do know what they are and you've been around for a while, you're going to want to stick around for this video because I'm also going to be talking about some of the methods that was used to actually make them. Specifically, the changes that had to be made to the schematics in order for them to become modded. Now, without further ado, let's get into this video, but don't forget to subscribe, like the video if you want to see more stuff like this. So let's get into my home base, and I'm going to go over a bunch of examples. Alright, so we are in my home base here, and I've went ahead and spread out all of these different weapons that are all modded in their own unique ways. Now, I want to keep this short because this can easily drag out to a yap. I can talk about this stuff for ages, so I'm just going to get right into this and explaining as to why these are modded. Starting from here, all the way to the end, and make sure you have a look at all these different weapons because at the end of this video I'm going to be revealing which one of these is the most valuable. So comment down below which one you think is the most valuable before I reveal it, and without further ado, let's just get straight into this. So I'm gonna start by picking up these two right here. Now if you go ahead and look at this weapon at the beginning, this is looks like just straight trash, honestly, but this is actually modded in a very weird way. First thing you want to look at is the level. It is level 1 out of 1. It has 5 stars on it, and it is made of sunbeam. So it is impossible to have a weapon made of sunbeam and be level 1. It should be copper, not sunbeam. And even if I go to recycle it, it'll even give me sunbeam if I were to destroy this. So this is what you would call a wrong power level weapon. I have the other one that I picked up here, which is a trap. This is another example here. If I were to recycle it, it would give me efficient mechanical parts. It is also level 1 out of 1, 5 stars, and then power level 36, which I believe is also not possible. So yeah, these are what you would consider wrong power level weapons, specifically upgraded wrong power level weapons. Now I'm going to explain exactly what an upgraded wrong power level weapon is when I get an example of a downgraded wrong power level. Now this right here is another wrong power level, but it is level 50 out of 50, Shadow Shard, 4 stars, and power level 119. Now compared to a normal 130, they have the exact same perks, and actually they do the exact same amount of damage. If this typewriter were, say, a grunt at power level 130, exactly the same perks as this, they would do the same damage, have the same stats, because the damage on weapons is based off of the level, not the material. So realistically, this weapon is actually more beneficial to use in missions because it'll actually cost Shadow Shard to get a weapon that does the same damage as one that is sunbeam. So that is something cool about these, and this is considered to be a downgraded wrong power level, and that is because the level of this weapon is higher than what the material is actually supposed to be. And this weapon is obviously a lower level, and the material is higher than what it should be. So this should be copper at level 1, and this should be sunbeam at level 50, not shadow shard. So that's examples of some wrong power levels. I'm just going to drop these right here, and let's get right into some examples of some other weapons right here. So all right, this is going to be Founder's Raptor, and now this is a double element. This is extremely easy to tell that this is modded, and what makes it special is the 4th perk. There's an extra element added there, and I believe the perk underneath it is also modded, not because this weapon isn't supposed to have a critical rating perk on it, but because that critical rating perk is in the wrong spot. You are not supposed to have one there. It should be like slow and snare damage, something like that at the bottom. It should not be a critical rating, so this has a perk in the wrong spot and then an extra element in the 4th slot. So that's what makes this modded, and these are pretty common ones to find. And this is the most classic double element setup. It is just a normal siege breaker. Well, technically not normal, but it has an extra element added into the top perk there, and that is it. That is the only thing that is special about this weapon, being a double element siege breaker. So let's get into another example here. This is a Hydra, and what makes this special is that it has no perks whatsoever. Now, specifically, this Hydra is not modded. Again, that is because of how this was obtained, but there are specific weapons in the game that if they have no perks, they will be modded. Now, the easiest way I can explain it is any weapon that has no perks, that is a normal weapon in the game. So anything that you could obtain normally today would not be modded if it has no perks, because you were able to get those back in the day. But if you, say, have a Founder's weapon that has no perks, now that is rare and could potentially be modded. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this, or actually even some new weapons in the game. Any of the new ones that they have added recently in the new weapon sets, if you get one that has no perks on it, that would also be incredibly strange as well. But any old gun that has no perks, like the Hydra, is not modded, but I was just using that as an example. Alright, so we're going to have a different one here. and this is a Reaper Scythe. Now, this is actually a legacy weapon. If you don't know what a legacy is, any weapons or any schematics that players were able to acquire before Season 4, the OG Season 4 of Fortnite, they had randomly generated perks like this, and those randomly generated perks contained elements that had no rolls if you were very lucky. Specifically, with this Reaper Scythe, you were able to get a fire element on it, which is actually not even possible to get on this at all, because the Reaper Scythe is locked at energy element. So this technically has a wrong element on it, which is a wrong perk, but because it's legacy and the way you were able to get these back in the day, this is actually not modded, but a legacy. But that is something cool, and the reason why I showed these two is because to prepare to explain for this one a lot easier. Now, this is extremely modded. This is a double element Nocturno, so that's already a giveaway that it's modded, but it is also a legacy because it has 2 legacy fire elements on it, and the top perk is also legacy. But what also makes this rare is it is a founder's weapon, just like I explained in the last one, and it has a smaller amount of perks than it should have. This thing should have at least 6 perks on it, but it does not. It has only 3 perks, and the perks are just all messed up on this thing as well. So this is modded by a whole bunch of different ways. This is one of the oldest guns in Save the World as well. One of the first ever double elements in the community that was ever released. So yeah, that is an example of pretty much all of these merge into one that is actually modded. So it has all those features, but in a gun that is actually modded. All right, so now we're going to go to another double element. This is kind of like the Siegebreaker, except this has another perk on it that makes it a lot more special than the Siegebreaker, and that is going to be the bottom perk, which is eliminating enemies with this weapon can spawn healing candy pickups. So this isn't just a double element, but you also have to look out for perks like that, because that is an exclusive perk to the Candy Corn LMG, and it's on a Gravedigger. So that is impossible to get on any other weapon. So it is not just double element, it also has a wrong perk at the very bottom, and that is going to be that healing candy pickup. So that's what makes that special. Now, the way that that one is less rare than this one is, again, because of how they were made. I'm going to explain that later on, but let's just pick up this one right here. And as you can see, this is the legendary Bullet Chain Hydra. Exactly kind of the same as how the last one was. It has 2 elements. Extra element is going to be added in the middle. And then it has another wrong perk at the bottom, this time being Bullet Chain to one nearby target. Now, what makes this more valuable than the last one is because the Bullet Chain to one nearby target perk came off of the Founders Revolt, and not like something like a Candy Corn LMG, which you are easily able to acquire. So this had to have Founders exclusive perks put onto it, which is a lot harder to do than to just get a normal weapon pretty much and swap the perks over. So all right, this is the last one that we got here, making this quick. This is a Shadow Shard Siegebreaker, but it is a wrong power level and double element at the same time. So just like the initial Siegebreaker I showed, this one has an extra element added to the top, and just like the Grunt, it is wrong power level because it is level 119 Shadow Shard 4 stars and level 50 out of 50. If I were to recycle it, I will get Shadow Shard Crystal, so it is a downgraded wrong power level, and it is also double element. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to end this here, because if I were to talk about these any longer, I'm going to drag this video into 2025. So to kind of end things here, if you guys would love to see more stuff like this, specifically where I go ahead and talk about how these weapons were modded and what was done to them in order to make them modded, then please show your support. Comment down below if that's something you would like to see, because at this point, I have no idea if there's any interest in these kind of videos, if people would like to see more about modded weapons, specifically because there's just a lack of knowledge out there. A lot of stuff when it comes to modded guns is kind of gate-kept in the underground community, especially for a very, very long time. There's a lot of stuff that has been gate-kept for years, and I would love to talk about it here if there is going to be enough interest for something like that. So if you guys are interested in it, please show your support, as I would love to continue making videos like this, talking about all sorts of things about modded weapons, how they were made, what was done to them to make them made, specifically what it's like to even have a modded schematic, the changes, if they're better emissions, if they're more effective than their normal versions. We already know, at least with this one here, that it's the same effectiveness as the 130 version, but it just costs lesser material. So that's already cool in itself. So yeah, I'd love to talk more about that if that's something you guys will be interested in. One other thing I did not mention here is a weapon that could have more perks. So say a weapon that is 8 perks, 7 perks, 10 perks, those also exist too. I could potentially have an example for that later. But yeah, other than that, hopefully you guys found this helpful, especially for trading. One thing I did not mention though is that duplication is also a factor. A lot of these modded weapons in this list here are duplicated, and that will determine which one of these is the most rare. So comment down below too which one you think is the most valuable. I'll have to reveal that in another video. But yeah, I'd love to talk about this more and even invite modded weapon crafters to talk about the weapons themselves, go through what it's like even changing the perks around, even get some footage of that too. I'd love to do all of that. And yeah, if that's something you would like to see, please show your support, follow, so I can make another one of these videos. At the end of the day, it'll really be up to the analytics as to whether another one of these drops. So please, if you would love to see that, show your support. And other than that, I'm going to end things here, guys. Thank you so much for watching if you made it this far. And hopefully, I will see you guys in the next one.